Imagine a world teetering on the brink, where ancient empires clashed with new ambitions, and a single assassination could plunge an entire continent into unimaginable chaos. How did a seemingly isolated event in a small Balkan city escalate into the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen, forever changing the course of history? Welcome to our deep dive into World War I, a pivotal moment that shaped the 20th century and continues to echo in our world today. To understand World War I, we must first look at the complex web of factors that made Europe a powder keg ready to explode. Historians often use the acronym MAIN to remember these core causes: militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. Each played a crucial role in setting the stage for conflict. Militarism was the intense buildup of armies and navies, creating an arms race among European powers. Nations believed a strong military was essential for national security and prestige, leading to a dangerous cycle of escalating military spending and readiness. This created an atmosphere where war seemed not just possible, but perhaps inevitable. Alliances were intricate defense agreements between nations, designed to create security, but ultimately drawing more countries into conflict. The Triple Entente, France, Britain, Russia, and the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Italy, meant that an attack on one nation could quickly pull many others into the fray. These treaties transformed local disputes into continent-wide crises. Imperialism, the competition for colonies and resources around the globe, fueled rivalries between European powers. Nations like Britain, France, and Germany vied for control over territories in Africa and Asia, leading to economic competition and political tensions. These colonial ambitions often brought nations into direct conflict, further straining international relations. Nationalism was a powerful force, fostering intense loyalty and devotion to one's own nation, often at the expense of others. This led to desires for self-determination among ethnic groups, particularly in the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires, and a fierce pride that made compromise difficult. The belief in national superiority often blinded leaders to the consequences of their actions. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, on June 28, 1914, was the immediate trigger. A Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, carried out the act in Sarajevo, Bosnia. This event ignited the powder keg, setting off a chain reaction of ultimatums, declarations of war, and mobilizations. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, issued an ultimatum to Serbia, which was supported by Russia. When Serbia couldn't meet all demands, Austria-Hungary declared war. This quickly activated the complex alliance system, pulling Russia, Germany, France, and eventually Britain into the conflict. What began as a regional dispute rapidly escalated into a global war. Germany's strategy, the Schlieffen Plan, aimed for a swift victory over France by invading through neutral Belgium, then turning to face Russia. This plan failed, leading to a brutal stalemate on the Western Front. The initial rapid movements of armies soon gave way to static trench warfare, a defining characteristic of the conflict. The Western Front, stretching from the North Sea to the Swiss border, became a labyrinth of trenches, barbed wire, and machine gun nests. On the Eastern Front, fighting was more fluid, but equally devastating, involving massive armies clashing across vast territories. The scale of mobilization was unprecedented, drawing millions of soldiers into the fight. Life in the trenches was a harrowing existence, a constant struggle against the enemy, the elements, and disease. Soldiers endured unimaginable conditions: mud, rats, lice, and the constant threat of artillery fire and gas attacks. The psychological toll was immense, leading to widespread cases of shell shock. No man's land was the deadly barren stretch of ground between opposing trenches, often littered with bodies and craters. Charging across it was a near-suicidal act, yet soldiers were repeatedly ordered to do so. This grim reality shattered romantic notions of warfare, revealing its true, horrific nature. World War I saw the introduction of terrifying new technologies that revolutionized warfare and increased its lethality. Tanks, first used by the British, aimed to break the trench stalemate, though they were initially unreliable. Their eventual development would change ground combat forever. Poison gas, including chlorine and mustard gas, caused horrific injuries and deaths, adding a new layer of terror to the battlefield. Airplanes, initially used for reconnaissance, evolved into fighters and bombers, introducing aerial combat. Submarines, particularly German U-boats, wreaked havoc on shipping lanes, impacting global trade and supply lines. Machine guns, already present, became even more devastating, capable of mowing down waves of attacking infantry. Artillery became more powerful and accurate, turning battlefields into moonscapes. These innovations made the war incredibly destructive, leading to unprecedented casualties. Some of the war's most brutal battles, like Verdun and the Somme, epitomized the futility and horror of trench warfare. Verdun, a French fortress, saw nearly 1 million casualties over 10 months in 1916. The Battle of the Somme, also in 1916, resulted in over 1 million casualties, with little strategic gain. The United States initially remained neutral, but several factors drew it into the conflict. The sinking of the Lusitania, a British passenger liner with American citizens aboard, by a German U-boat in 1915, sparked outrage. Germany's policy of unrestricted submarine warfare, targeting any ship in war zones, further angered the U.S. The Zimmermann telegram, intercepted in 1917, revealed a German proposal to Mexico to ally against the U.S., promising lost territories in return. This final insult, combined with economic ties to the Allies, led President Woodrow Wilson to declare war in April 1917. The arrival of the American Expeditionary Force provided a crucial boost in manpower and morale for the exhausted Allied forces. With American troops bolstering the Allies, Germany launched its final major offensive, the Spring Offensive, in 1918, hoping for a decisive victory before U.S. forces fully arrived. This offensive initially pushed deep into Allied lines, but ultimately failed due to exhaustion and strong Allied resistance. The tide had turned. Allied counteroffensives, supported by fresh American troops and improved tactics, pushed the German army back. Facing collapse on the battlefield and widespread unrest at home, Germany sought an armistice. On November 11, 1918, at 11 a.m., the fighting officially ceased, marking the end of the Great War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war. It imposed harsh terms on Germany, including territorial losses, heavy reparations, and severe military restrictions. While intended to prevent future conflicts, many historians argue these punitive measures contributed to resentment and instability, laying the groundwork for World War II. World War I profoundly reshaped the political, economic, and social landscape of the 20th century. 4 major empires collapsed: the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, and German empires. New nations emerged from their ruins, redrawing the map of Europe and the Middle East. This redrawing often ignored ethnic and religious divisions, creating new sources of conflict. Economically, the war devastated Europe, leading to massive debts and widespread poverty. The United States, having entered the war late and suffered fewer casualties, emerged as a dominant global economic power. Socially, the war challenged traditional gender roles as women stepped into roles previously held by men, contributing to the suffrage movement. The war also led to the creation of the League of Nations, an international organization proposed by President Wilson, aimed at preventing future wars through collective security and diplomacy. Though ultimately unsuccessful in preventing World War II, it laid the foundation for future international bodies like the United Nations. The psychological impact of the war, with its unprecedented scale of death and destruction, left a generation scarred and disillusioned, forever changing perceptions of warfare and humanity. World War I stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked nationalism, aggressive militarism, and entangled alliances. It teaches us the importance of diplomacy, critical thinking, and understanding the complex interplay of global forces. The echoes of its causes and consequences can still be seen in today's geopolitical landscape. What lessons can we draw from this monumental conflict? How can understanding the past help us navigate the challenges of the present and build a more peaceful future? Now it's your turn to become a historian. Dive deeper into the stories of World War I. Research a specific battle, a soldier's diary, or the impact of a new technology. Share your findings in the comments below, discuss with your classmates, or explore primary sources to truly grasp the human cost and enduring legacy of this pivotal moment in history. Let's keep learning and ensure these lessons are never forgotten.